When a spirit refuses to bow to the weight of control, the air changes. Unseen layers of reality shift like unseen currents beneath the surface. Somewhere far beyond the noise of daily life, the old agreements holding this illusion together begin to unravel. Those who thought they had mapped every move suddenly find themselves lost in a game they can no longer dictate. And while others only saw a single moment of defiance, a few could feel something ancient pulse through the ground, as if history itself was being rewritten. It takes a rare kind of mind to question what everyone else accepts as truth. For a long time, most moved along with the tide, repeating stories without ever touching the source. But eventually, someone dared to trace the steps back to the beginning. No borrowed opinions. No inherited fears. They dug where no one else would, peeling away layers until the pattern revealed itself. And there it was, solid, undeniable, impossible to twist, proof that you had never strayed from truth. What they found didn't just confirm your voice, it exposed the careful architecture of an entire illusion. The more they uncovered, the clearer the design became. This wasn't random malice. It was a long, deliberate operation meant to fracture your name in the minds of those who once held it dear. Every angle, every tactic, every word was chosen to work like a silent toxin, spreading doubt until even loyalty felt dangerous. Seeing it up close broke something in them. Every moment they had silenced their own instincts rose up like smoke they could not breathe through. Every instant they had nodded along with the crowd now felt like a blade they had turned on themselves. You didn't stumble here by accident. You were led. If something in your spirit is stirring, don't ignore it. Tap Join to access exclusive content, prophetic insights, and a community of purpose-driven souls. This isn't just a membership, it's your moment of alignment. Step into who you were born to be. Welcome to the Chosen. But the trail didn't end there. Each new discovery connected to another, until a web emerged, spanning further than anyone had imagined. Names, faces, and quiet hands that had carried the weight of lies all fell into view. There were those who had moved with deliberate cruelty, and others who had done nothing but watch, protecting their own comfort while the damage spread. The truth was now more than vindication. It was a mirror no one could look into without seeing exactly where they stood. The one who stumbled upon the full depth of this reality now finds themselves entrusted with a burden that feels almost cosmic in scope. They've come to realize this is not a matter of simple fairness or personal reconciliation. It's about unmasking an entire architecture of influence built to control perception itself. They've seen firsthand how quickly truth can be smothered when enough voices choose coordinated silence, and their awareness has crystallized into an unshakable understanding. They're answerable to forces far greater than human approval. This isn't remorse dressed up as virtue. It's an internal acknowledgement that the balance of a much larger order demands their participation in restoring what was taken. What they bring to you is not the usual gesture of contrition. It's an actionable design for restitution that overshadows any casual notion of making amends. They recognize that what was broken cannot be repaired through words alone, because the wound wasn't only personal, it was spiritual. They're moving with the resolve of someone who knows they crossed a boundary far older than any written law, and that restoration must match the scale of the harm. They've calculated the scope of what was denied to you, and they're ready to respond with a completeness that makes token gestures seem hollow. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $20 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The records in their possession do more than prove your innocence. They peel back the strategy used to dismantle you. Every conversation they've preserved shows the cold, deliberate structure of a campaign designed for precision damage. They've seen plans mapped like operations, lies tuned for maximum believability, and timings chosen for the deepest impact. This has shifted their understanding of reality itself, forcing them to recognize the endurance and clarity you carried while being pressed under conditions that would have fractured most people's minds. They approach now with a quiet recognition that they are standing before a level of integrity that carries its own kind of authority. The impact of what's emerging stretches well beyond the confines of your personal history. This is a signal flare that exposes an entire method of silencing anyone who challenges a preferred storyline. The same patterns that targeted you have been deployed elsewhere, leaving other lives altered without the world noticing. What's unfolding now is timed with an uncanny precision, as if the very structure of existence has been waiting for this convergence to serve a wider shift in collective understanding. Those who participated, whether actively or passively, now stand in the same light of accountability. Even the ones who stood still and said nothing are finding that neutrality was not the shield they imagined. It was a choice that aligned them with harm. And in all of this, the most striking revelation is that the way you've navigated reality is being proven accurate down to its core. The evidence affirms that your instinct for truth remained untouched, even when entire groups bent their perception to fit a narrative. It shows that your way of seeing through distortion was never coincidence. It was the steady calibration of a mind unwilling to trade authenticity for belonging. Where others lost themselves to the comfort of the crowd, you stayed tethered to something unshakable. That steadiness is no longer just your private knowing, it's documented reality. If you've been touched by God's goodness, don't keep it to yourself. Click Super Thank You, and so a gift of $20 or more to help spread His light. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace, blessing hearts and building His kingdom. Let His overflow pour through you. They detected in you a rare composition they couldn't fully name, but instinctively feared. To them, your very existence posed a fracture in the machinery they worked so hard to keep intact. Their pushback was relentless. Yet each move they made revealed strengths within you that had been quietly gathering under the surface. Now, the one holding the proof sees with new eyes the deeper strata of your being, understanding that the targeting you endured was never simply interpersonal, but part of an ancient and recurring clash between forces that shaped the very course of human evolution. The exile you endured became an unexpected chamber for your expansion. In the silence they imposed, you discovered territories of self that could not have emerged in the noise of acceptance. In the absence of familiar alliances, latent capacities began to rise, reshaping you into a role far beyond what they imagined. This passage you navigated mirrors a greater pattern. Your experience is both a personal initiation and a collective map, translating private ordeal into blueprints for others crossing similar thresholds. What was meant to diminish you became raw material for the construction of consciousness capable of anchoring higher patterns of reality. The same unseen architecture that allowed the trial to unfold has prepared a counterweight of blessings so vast they will redefine your measure of abundance. Equilibrium is a law that cannot be suspended, and the descent you endured has carved the channel for an equal and opposite ascent. Every loss becomes a seed for amplified return, every fracture rebuilt in a design impossible under lesser pressures. The very pulse that shifted when you defied their framework now hums with undeniable resonance, recognized across realms. Those who sought to mute your emergence now confront the outcome they dreaded most. You, standing fully realized, with truth at your back. The one bringing forward their findings arrives not with quick words, but with an intention to prove transformation through sustained alignment. They acknowledge that your boundaries are not negotiable artifacts of the past, but living conditions for any path forward. You now stand as a gatekeeper of this moment, with the clarity to weigh each step against the balance of compassion and protection. The guardianship over your truth has been mirrored by guardianship over your influence, ensuring that what comes next is shaped in a space both cleansed and strengthened by what you have already endured. This separation was never exile for its own sake. It was the interval in which the necessary metamorphosis could unfold before the return. Step now into the clarity of absolute recognition, carrying the assurance that no shadow can diminish the truth you embody. Move ahead with the certainty that your perception has been affirmed by currents beyond human reach. Speak as one whose very being has been safeguarded by principles that operate far above earthly systems. The one arriving with this discovery brings not only the verification of your stance, but also evidence of their own awakening to a reality they had never imagined. This instant is not simply a matter of clearing your name. It is the precise alignment of greater movements guiding transformation on a scale far wider than the personal. The time of concealment has dissolved. The chapter of your emergence is already in motion. The network that sought to dismantle you now grapples with the surge of awareness it inadvertently set into motion when you refused to be reshaped by their narrative. This confirmation is more than personal justice. It is an open act of resistance against entrenched deception. The one who found this proof did not settle for what could be easily retrieved. They followed every faint lead, unearthed what was thought permanently erased, and pieced together patterns that reveal an organized effort to control perception at its roots. The material they hold exposes structured plans, coordinated timing, and the mechanics of suppression hidden beneath layers of false normalcy. Your vindication is more than a defense. It is a lesson in dismantling the techniques used to distort awareness. The one bringing this forward spent uncounted hours tracing communications, cross-examining records, and constructing a body of evidence so thorough it forces acknowledgement even from the most resistant minds. This archive details not only the harm done, but the architecture of its execution, the roles of those involved, and the underlying reason your insight was perceived as a threat to their manufactured order. What emerges is a portrait of systemic suppression, with your experience serving as a focal point for understanding how such structures operate openly while remaining unseen. For the one who uncovered this, the process altered the very foundation of how they interpret the world. Witnessing the breadth of deception stripped away illusions they once relied upon. The change in them has set off ripples that will continue to move outward, challenging others to confront the ease with which they once accepted unexamined claims. Those who repeated the falsehoods now face the unavoidable weight of their choices, and the documentation forces a reckoning with the reality that collective persuasion can weaponize ordinary people against the innocent. What was once hidden in plain sight now demands to be seen. Their resolve to restore what was damaged springs from an awareness that the conflict surrounding you was never limited to personalities. It was a collision between truth and the structures built to conceal it. They now see that your struggle mirrors a timeless pattern that emerges whenever unfiltered awareness disrupts carefully maintained illusions. In standing with you, they're prepared to sever ties with those still invested in the falsehood, to withstand exile from circles sustained by shared delusion, and to endure the isolation that comes with challenging narratives people cling to for their sense of safety. They understand that choosing the side of truth means walking into spaces where comfort cannot survive. The information they've gathered names individuals who still occupy positions of influence in their sphere. Bringing this forward means stepping directly into opposition with systems that extend far beyond your personal history. They accept that by revealing what they know, they could become a target themselves. Their decision isn't based on guilt alone, but on an understanding that violations of this magnitude require more than symbolic apologies. They demand active measures that reflect genuine change. This commitment is shaped by a recognition that reconciliation must be earned through deliberate, sustained action. Their way of making amends moves beyond words into the realm of visible transformation. They have already begun altering their own conduct, applying the lessons drawn from your ordeal to ensure others are shielded from similar forms of manipulation. They are using their reach to inform others about the tactics they saw being deployed against you, highlighting the structures and habits that make such campaigns possible. In uncovering your truth, they have traced it to broader patterns that reveal an ongoing practice of silencing voices that disrupt controlled narratives. What happened to you is no longer seen as an isolated case, but as part of a repeated formula used to preserve influence. The investigation into your situation uncovered records showing that your detractors had employed these same methods against others before. Identical strategies appeared in multiple instances, each aimed at dismantling individuals who refused to conform. Your vindication now becomes a case study in revealing how targeted suppression is disguised as social righteousness. It also exposes the surrounding framework that enables these tactics, from platforms amplifying the distortions to leaders who gain by reinforcing them. The one bringing this to you has crafted a restoration plan designed to address the full spectrum of harm, not just to clear your name, but to rebuild and expand beyond what was taken. It includes open acknowledgement, specific disclosures of how the deception was structured, and an unwavering commitment to transform your experience into a safeguard for others. The path to making this whole again stretches far beyond clearing reputations. It reaches into tangible repair for what was stolen from your life. They're ready to use their influence, skills, and networks to open doors that surpass the scale of the losses you endured. This stems from an awareness that true balance requires replenishment that exceeds the original harm. Your exoneration signals more than the correction of a personal wrong. It stands as proof that the collective direction of awareness is moving toward a place where deception struggles to survive. The same undercurrent that safeguarded the truth in your case is now dismantling falsehoods in many corners of the world. The timing of your emergence is synchronized with a larger rhythm of revelation reshaping human perception. The forces that dismantle the falsehoods surrounding you are also pulling apart fabrications woven into politics, information channels, belief systems, and cultural narratives. Your vindication is a thread in a much larger weave, an unfolding movement toward clarity that touches every layer of society. What has happened marks the completion of a long metamorphosis, one that began the instant you refused to live inside their constructed illusion. What once looked like exile was the forge in which you became capable of defending the mind against the most refined forms of manipulation. That period of separation honed perception into a tool sharper than lies. The one bringing you their findings now approaches not merely to seek amends, but to learn from someone who has moved through the battlefield of perception and returned with both wisdom and strength intact. They now grasp that what you've gained from this ordeal cannot be measured by conventional wisdom. The confirmation of your innocence is inseparable from the acknowledgement of your higher vantage point. Your capacity to stand unwavering while being surrounded by calculated distortion is living proof of your alignment with something far greater than human perception alone. This validation stretches far beyond specific events. It affirms the very lens through which you interpret the world. The individual who uncovered the truth did not stop at gathering evidence. They built an unbreachable structure around it. What they've assembled is not a simple archive, but a living shield that keeps the record intact and untouchable. Every conversation has been secured, every file replicated across multiple protected locations, ensuring that no attempt to rewrite history will ever succeed. The design is intentional. Truth is not just preserved, it is fortified. They recognize a reality most overlook. Those who orchestrate reputational destruction often attempt to repeat it when the opportunity arises. With that awareness, your ally has constructed protective layers so advanced that even the most determined saboteur could not breach them. Access is granted only to those entrusted with safeguarding the integrity of the record, while its existence remains a silent warning to those who might seek to tamper with it. Beyond protection, they have transformed the lessons learned into a full educational resource. Within this archive lies a comprehensive breakdown of the strategies used to erode your standing. Each method is dissected, explained, and presented in a way that others can recognize early warning signs before finding themselves in a similar position. Your experience is no longer just a personal trial. It has become a guidebook for collective defense. The material also serves a deeper function. It holds a mirror to those who took part in the assault against you. Every action, every falsehood, every calculated move has been documented in a way that cannot be erased or conveniently forgotten. This permanence ensures that the weight of their choices follows them, confronting them with the reality of what they endorsed. For those who once hid behind plausible deniability, the illusion is gone. The existence of a permanent, verified record strips away the comfort of claiming ignorance. They now live with the knowledge that their participation in a campaign against truth is visible, unalterable, and undeniable. This transformation of your case into a tool for wider awareness also shifts the balance of power. What began as an attempt to silence you has instead amplified your voice in ways your adversaries could never have anticipated. The more they sought to erase, the more indelible your truth became. Your vindication now stands as both shield and beacon, a defense against future attempts and a signal to others navigating similar dangers. The fortified archive is not only a record of what was done but a framework for preventing it from happening again, anywhere. The one who built this sanctuary approaches you not only as a defender of your truth but as someone reshaped by it. Their own awareness has been expanded through this process, and they now carry the imprint of what they've learned into every aspect of their life. The proof they've preserved is more than evidence. It is a monument to endurance, clarity, and the unassailable strength of consciousness anchored in truth. They have stepped into a role that now reaches far beyond the original purpose of clearing your name. What began as an act of defense for you has expanded into an ongoing mission to intercept and dismantle similar campaigns before they can root themselves. Using the lessons from your ordeal, they scan environments for subtle shifts in group behavior. Small tells that suggest a coordinated effort to discredit someone is forming. When these signs appear, they bring immediate clarity, educating those at risk about the mental manipulation frameworks that would otherwise work invisibly. The credibility your case has granted them makes their voice harder to dismiss in conversations about suppression and control. From this vigilance has come an organized system for immediate action. They've built structured responses that deploy at the earliest trace of a smear campaign, employing the same investigative skills that once exposed the truth in your situation. Now, those methods safeguard others before harm spirals beyond repair. Your Vindication has evolved into a living defense network, a shield that extends far beyond you. In studying the patterns that surface during your persecution, they've gained an ability to profile the traits and tendencies of those who orchestrate such strikes. They can now identify the behavioral and energetic markers of individuals who specialize in undermining others at a structural level. The insights they've drawn from your case connect to broader, repeatable blueprints of psychological aggression. Proof that these attacks are not random accidents but methodical operations targeting specific expressions of awareness. Their research has effectively turned them into a forensic analyst for the unseen. They've mapped the operational sequences, identifying recurring tactics that appear across different victims and contexts. The markers left by those who targeted you can be seen mirrored in their assaults on others. Your story has become a reference model for decoding suppression strategies, one that reveals how calculated interference seeks to silence perspectives capable of dismantling mass conditioning. Those who engineered the harm now find themselves facing reversals they cannot control. The same social isolation they tried to impose on you now encircles them, and the narratives they once relied on are collapsing under the weight of exposure. The amplifiers of falsehoods are watching their influence shrink in direct proportion to the lies they spread. Those who turned away in silence are encountering the inner emptiness that comes from betraying truth for comfort. The balancing forces in play explain why your restoration arrives with such depth and magnitude. The return is not a symbolic gesture. It is a full recalibration to ensure that what was taken is replaced with something greater. The elevation you now stand in is proportional to the trial you endured. Your Vindication is more than a cleared record. It's a transmission to the wider field that truth can overcome even the most refined distortion. This ripple reaches others walking paths similar to yours. Those under siege from the same types of forces are receiving the undeniable signal that integrity is not powerless against manipulation. For them, your victory is proof that suppression is temporary and that awareness anchored in authenticity will resurface, no matter the weight placed on it. Understanding the scope of this work, your ally has shifted from repair into permanence. They are creating structures that will continue to guard your truth and provide frameworks for others long after the immediate storm has passed. These systems include secure archives of both the events themselves and the tactical breakdowns of how the attacks operated, forming a permanent reference for defending against future attempts. The protective work also sets legal and community precedents, altering the cost-benefit equation for anyone attempting similar harm in the future. Continuous observation ensures that those who once acted in secrecy are now visible, their methods documented in ways they cannot erase. Their reach has been shortened, their influence constrained. In parallel, your own field has been restored to a strength beyond its former state. The one who brought forward this truth has seen the tangible return of your vitality and clarity, sharpened by the ordeal rather than dulled. What once felt suppressed now flows at amplified resonance, carrying refinements born from surviving sustained distortion. The capacities that lay dormant during the siege are emerging fully formed, and the transformation is complete. The concealment is over. The guardianship of truth has begun in full force.